All right, YouTube, it's time for Occult Literature 103 on the Primitive Physic of John Wesley. This is a mid-18th century work. It's more extensive than the other herbal works that I've actually released. It's 122 pages long, and it's extremely dense. That is, it takes the form, essentially, it's not of a traditional herbal as in, well, here's this species, here's what it's used for, here's a woodcut of it, but rather a receipt book, by which I mean numerous maladies, lists of different diseases, injuries, and so forth, conditions that people could have, some of which are slightly antiquated, the ague or something like that. And then the herbal or folk remedies that are responsible for treating, preventing, or curing them as used in the middle of the 1700s. Now, as always, link in the description to my edition of this work on Amazon, second link to my books blog. I have created a new category for the herbal, folk remedy, homeopathic, sort of quack-style works. That's what I'm going to be working on probably through the end of February or so forth. I want to flesh that out, release another, 3 or 4 titles under that umbrella, because that's one that I feel most passionate about, honestly. I'm into plants, I'm into minerals. This sort of stuff, in a historical sense as well, fascinates me. John Wesley's work here contains all of the elements that you would want to see in a work from its period of time. We're talking dawn of the Enlightenment, end of the Renaissance, essentially. I believe it is a British work as well. It takes numerous herbal species, agrimony, chamomile, all wormwood, all of these are mentioned frequently, mineral compounds, certain sort of just general chemicals, vitriol and so forth. Now, and then a little bit of the strange, the idea of, for instance, in order to cure some malady, you put a funnel in your mouth and breathe the smoke of burned henbane or something like that. Now, obviously, some of these remedies are potentially fatal themselves. I'm not, I explicitly have to warn people here in the blog post and, of course, in the disclaimer of the work, I'm not condoning or encouraging you to use any of these things. There are certain herbal materials that have been used safely by mankind for a very long time. Chicory, dandelion root tea, certainly chamomile, things of that nature. But some of this gets into the sort of proto-Enlightenment medicine material, that is, they're still using quicksilver or verdigris or something like that as an actual treatment. The homeopathic way is a little bit different from this. This is sort of a pre-1800s era homeopathy. It's essentially the dose makes the poison. Oh, well, if you take just a really small amount of the same thing that's killing you, you'll get better. This isn't one of those works. It's a general receipt book, and in that sense, it's actually similar to many grimoires of not that long before this era of manufacture. In fact, it has a little bit of overlap with the Petit Albert. That is, some of these treatments, the idea of topical medicine, of simplistic folk remedies for, your cattle are sick, your goats are sick, your chickens won't fatten up, you are losing your teeth. That's very much involved with some of these works that also contain outright spells, talismans, and so forth. It's all folk magic, but it's in the sense of a grimoire, like the Petit Albert, like even the Grand Grimoire, or something like that, or the Grimorium Verum. This also, it covers specifically the difference in some cases of preventing an ailment and treating it. Now, we do see some stuff here that is widely accepted to be useful. Staving off scurvy. Oh, suck the lime, eat the lemon or the orange or something. It's fairly straightforward. Insofar as this work is talking about nutritional deficiencies, it's actually a fairly competent hand guide. I don't know how effective brushing your teeth with burned bread would be. That's another suggestion here that they make. I don't know that it's a good idea to take quicksilver for gout or the piles or something like that. But it's an interesting historical medical piece, and it does get into the folk remedies where they overlap in many ways with the spiritual. You've simply had a deletion of the outright spiritualism. For instance, a century before this, you would expect a work that contained a series of medical receipts, or what they would be termed. would contain short prayers or invocations, something like that. Some ritualism associated with the cure, along with the actual cure, which is more physical. This simply strips the former. So it's an extremely interesting and somewhat longer work. It's considerably longer than magical plants or gunpowder as a war remedy. I will be releasing many more works along these general lines. Right now, I'm busy editing the Canadian Herbal, which is from the mid-19th century. It's a sort of a slightly pre-Civil War, sort of antebellum era material. It's very much similar. That's more of a general herbal, but it does contain sort of the receipts for maladies that this work does. So as I said before, a link in the description to my edition of this work on Amazon, a second link to my books blog. A new category is now active for works of this type. Prior, they had been under the academic heading, although I don't know exactly how academic some of these works are. There was nowhere else literally to put them until this category was had enough titles to actually justify creating it. That's about all. Peace out.